Welcome to Fort Meigs Historic Site, Ohio's War of 1812 battlefield, and the largest reconstructed wooden-walled fortification in the United States. Fort Meigs represents an era of extreme importance to the development of the United States and frontier Ohio. It is a place where three cultures collided and the fates of nations were determined. Located along the banks of the Maumee River just south of modern-day Toledo, Fort Meigs was built to protect Ohio from British invasion during the War of 1812 and to act as a staging point for the Americans to recapture Detroit and invade Canada. The War of 1812 began on June 18, 1812, when the fledgling United States declared war upon Great Britain over the issues of free trade, sailors' rights, and relations with the Native Americans on its frontier. The Americans suffered many defeats early in the war, losing key fortifications and territory in 1812, including the loss of Detroit and all of the Michigan Territory. In the winter of 1813, Fort Meigs was built to defend the remaining American territory in Ohio. The fort came under siege by British and Native American forces 2 times in the spring and summer of 1813, and by that fall, General William Henry Harrison's army had used the fort as a springboard to invade Canada. Today, Fort Meigs is a celebrated centerpiece of Ohio history. It is managed by the Fort Meigs Association, a local non-profit organization on behalf of the Ohio History Connection. Dedicated staff and volunteers adhere to the mission of stewardship of this great American institution. They are tasked with telling the story of Fort Meigs and the individuals who lived, fought, and died there, from great leaders to ordinary citizens, many of whom are still buried at the site. The nearby Visitor Center welcomes over 30,000 guests from around the world each year. Within, you will find the Legacy of Freedom Museum exhibit, housing hundreds of artifacts found at the site. Additionally, the Fort Meigs Visitor Center has classroom and conference room space, as well as a fantastic museum store with a wide selection of books, souvenirs, gifts, and more. During the spring and summer months, guests of Fort Meigs can take self-guided tours of the historic site to discover more about this important battlefield. Guided tours are offered to schools and private groups with reservations. Historical interpreters, dressed as War of 1812 soldiers, offer weapon demonstrations and discuss the important history of the site with visitors on a daily basis. Additionally, the fort is a center for study of all aspects of early American life, including trades, entertainment, fashion, and lifestyles. Public workshops are offered throughout the year, including tinsmithing, historic cooking, blacksmithing, and more. Special events are offered throughout the summer and fall and feature a reenactment of the first siege of Fort Meigs each May, a military timeline event in June with reenactors portraying everything from Vikings through World War II. On July 4th, staff and volunteers recreate the Independence Day celebrations of 1813, and the fort hosts spooky nighttime tours at the October event, Garrison Ghost Walk. Fort Meigs connects people to the history of Ohio, especially as it relates to the War of 1812, the settlement of the state, and Ohioans' roles in conflict, in order to understand the present and create a better future. So stop in sometime and discover this important place in history for yourself.